Roblox Rivals was transformed by movement tech masters. In the world of Roblox Rivals, where weapons clash and game modes change every season, it's easy to assume that power comes from firepower. But anyone who has truly dominated the battlefield knows a deeper truth. In 2025, the meta was not ruled by guns or abilities, it was ruled by movement. From wall skimming dodges to instant mid-air turns and friction-defying slides, movement tech became the hidden engine of every great play. The players who mastered it were often invisible until the moment they struck, dancing around their enemies, leaving opponents swinging at air and missing every shot. This is the story of how movement tech became the most important skill in Roblox Rivals and the players who discovered the techniques that changed the game forever. It started quietly. At first, the player base used the built-in movement tools, dodge rolls, sprints, wall runs, and bounce pads just as intended. But with each new update, players began to experiment. Certain animations canceled others. Certain actions could be strung together to leap farther or move faster than expected. One player named Jetrix was the first to post a viral clip of what he called wave jumps, launching himself across rooftops by combining a sprint roll with a jump at the last animation frame. People didn't believe it at first. Some called it lagged. But as more players recreated the move, a new era had begun. Movement was no longer a mechanic. It was an art. Players began naming their discoveries. The ghost roll allowed a player to pass through the first few frames of damage by timing a crouch sprint perfectly. The zip weave combined side roll and melee lunge to slingshot across tight corridors. The ledge blink let players cling to a corner edge and cancel into a backflip, letting them bait attacks and escape with perfect timing. As videos showcasing these skills exploded across the internet, more players wanted to learn. But mastering movement tech wasn't about watching tutorials, it was about grinding for muscle memory. A new type of player rose through the ranks. They weren't top fraggers or team shot callers. They were movement mains players who used average weapons but never got hit. One of the most famous was a player known as Shard. She rarely spoke in chat. Her kill count was never the highest, but match after match her team would win. Why? Because she was never in the same place twice. She ran circles around enemy tanks. She outmaneuvered top snipers. Her dodging was so consistent that players joked her hitbox didn't exist. When someone finally spectated her gameplay closely, they realized she wasn't cheating. She had memorized every inch of every map and was chaining together tech with perfect rhythm. Eventually, developers leaned into the trend. A new mode called Velocity Arena was released, designed entirely around high-speed movement and precision. It removed all aim assist and highlighted parkour sections on the map. Players who had focused on standard gunplay struggled, while movement masters like Jetrix and Shard dominated the leaderboards. For the first time, matches were won by players who rarely fired a shot but controlled positioning so well that they dictated the entire pace of the game. Tech hunters emerged, players whose only mission was to find new movement tricks. Some focused on animation canceling, others studied terrain interactions. A few even mapped out physics calculations for bounce pads and grenade jumps. One legendary clip showed a player chaining for grenade explosions to boost themselves from spawn to final control point in under 6 seconds. It looked like hacking, but it was legal and repeatable. That player, known only as Fellow, became a community myth. He never joined competitive teams, he never streamed. But once a week, he would enter a random lobby and perform impossible movement stunts before vanishing again. Soon the meta changed. Competitive teams started recruiting based on movement ability instead of kill count. New players began practicing movement maps instead of combat drills. The developers added custom parkour arenas to training mode. Streamers held races across fan-made maps. The aim was no longer just a shooter, it was a battleground of mobility. Even weapon design began to reflect the change. A new rifle called the Momentum Breaker rewarded players who landed shots mid-air. A shotgun called Velocity Shell gained extra spread if fired during a wall run. A support gadget known as Phase Pad let teammates chain jumps using a single launch point. These additions didn't make traditional combat obsolete, they enhanced it. Movement tech was now the bridge between average players and pros. Of course, not everyone liked the shift. Some veterans claimed movement tech broke the pacing. Others called it unfair since it wasn't explained in tutorials or the official guide. But the devs responded with a simple update description: skill is what you build beyond the basics. Instead of nerfing the mechanics, they created a ranked ladder just for mobility challenges. Weekly movement missions became part of season rewards. And in the 2025 Championship Finals, 3 matches were decided not by firefights but by clutch movement plays, dodging last-minute ults and escaping collapsing zones with precision jumps. The most iconic moment came in the final match. A team down to players and surrounded on the final control point. The last remaining player, running low on health and ammo, used a series of wave jumps and a ledge blink to loop behind the enemy team, capturing the zone by milliseconds before the timer ran out. Crowd went wild. The slow motion replay showed just how tight each movement tech execution had to be. That match was not won by bullets, it was won by feet. Even now, movement continues to evolve. New players post daily clips discovering interactions no one saw before. Speedrunners try to break movement records on custom maps. Movement tech servers have entire ranks based solely on how fast you can clear obstacle zones. What was once considered an afterthought is now the core of Roblox Rivals' most skilled community. In the end, movement tech became the soul of the game, not because it was flashy or broken, but because it rewarded creativity, mastery, and dedication. Players who couldn't outgun their enemies learned to outmaneuver them, and that simple lesson echoed across every lobby. Sometimes the best way to win isn't to fight harder, it's to move smarter.